Welcome to another Demarcation Media Blokees review. Today we have the Classic Class Jetwing Optimus Prime. Now I want to get something straight about this particular kit. This is not entirely a new thing. I've seen some people disappointed that there's not a new core skeleton for Optimus underneath here. And that's because it's a deluxe edition. It is the first deluxe edition Classic Class. So it really is just the same core Optimus, but with a ton of add-ons and accessories, including the Dark of the Moon chest and arm upgrade. This is available from the Blokees website. I'll have a link in the description and in the pinned comment. All opinions voiced in this review are mine because you cannot buy good reviews on this channel. The amount of stuff that you get in this kit is insane. There are so many accessories and option parts. If you want to watch a live build of this, there will be a replay pinned up in the corner for you to go watch if you want to see the whole process. For now, let's just get in and start looking at these accessories. Let's talk about the stuff we've seen before. So we get the chest of the standard 2007 Optimus, same as we saw in the other kit, as well as the forearms. So this guy can be made in 2007 form if you want. You also get that head that came in that first one. Interestingly enough, the top of the head and the sides are slightly different colors, and I found my original release has it inverted, a slightly darker top of head and lighter side of head. So apparently there's just some variation in the dark blues. You also get the Energon swords, unfortunately not the printed variants, but these work exactly the same as the previous ones. They have pegs to attach to the inside of the forearm armor. This works with both forearm armors. You get the gun. This does have this removable blue section, so if you want to have him dual wield, you just pop that off. You get a pair of open hands that are the upgraded ones that we saw in the EX edition. If you haven't seen the EX edition, I'll put a little card up in the corner. You can watch that review. And then you also get these. These are my biggest point of contention, and we will talk about that in a minute, but these are here for the 2007 form. Without counting the Jetwing stuff, we have 3 new weapons, one of which is Optimus's large gun. This is really well done. There's tons of molded detail. There's no paintwork or anything, but if you wanted to, I'm sure a few little strokes of paint could really elevate this. I have no complaints. This is awesome. You get the Energon Axe that Optimus uses to absolutely obliterate Megatron in Dark of the Moon.
Time to find out.
Which is great. You have to remove the handle to be able to have him hold it. It's not a huge deal, but it is a little bit frustrating. I would have preferred them to add some clip hands or something, but it looks brilliant. And then the shield. This is 2 pieces. So the coppery color is one, and then the silver is another. You get a handle around the back that can be angled. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. There is nothing to complain about here. We'll look at Optimus up close in a minute, but I wanted to show you kind of what you get in terms of the Jetwing stuff and how to use it. So first, you do get a stand. This is a rather robust stand with an arm on it. There are these little add-on pieces that make studs here. There are extra attachment points. And then this peg up top attaches into the base of the wings. The wings are basically as I called it back when I first reviewed the 2007 Optimus. It's the little hole for the hitch and that little tab up top. So you just take this and you just plug it on there. The wings have an amazing amount of detail. There's print, there's color separation, there's basically everything you could want with this sort of a thing. And the wings, the big ones anyway, have this like kind of spray matte coat to just change the texture a little bit, which is awesome. And one of the best things is that you can take the thrusters and add these blast effects. Look at that. So much more dynamic. That's brilliant. I absolutely love that they did that all the same peg size. And then for the guns, you need to remove Optimus's forearms. These are the new style joints. And then you just grab his big guns, pop that on there like so. We'll do that same for the other side. You got to kind of pinch the joint, otherwise the joint will want to come off. But then we've got him all up in Jetwing mode, and then we will just plug him onto the stand. It clicks into place. Look at that. That is beautiful. And he still gets a pretty good arm bend, even with the big guns. The jetpack does have a lot of articulation. The thruster pods can move. The individual wings can move. You can hinge them out. The big wings can move. They can hinge. They're very, very stiff, but they can hinge this way. So in terms of posing, you're really not going to be lacking for much with the Jetwing pack. And when he's all mounted up like this, it looks great. And now it's time to talk about my biggest complaint, which is Optimus himself. Well, let me actually talk about what I like about Optimus first. First of all, detail-wise, he's fantastic. The last version was fantastic. This one is as well. We get the Dark of the Moon ab piece this time, which looks great. We get the kind of split, more claw-like forearms, which is amazing. And then the absolute best part is the fact that they gave us a second head that is probably about half the size of the original one. So that means there's going to be way more articulation. That means this dude is overall more proportionate to the actual film and less chibi, like a Blokees figure. They just went and they tried to make it more like the Optimus from the movie, and I appreciate that so much. One of my biggest complaints with the original one was how limited the head was articulation-wise. So that's great. Articulation is otherwise basically the same. You do get slightly more of a bend for the forearm because of the new joints, but other than that, same old, not very far for the legs past 90. I did notice that the hip is a little loose and the hands are a little loose, which is not something I really had with my last figure, but other than that, looks great. Now the part that I really don't like. So he's got the clamp here. This is the clamp that comes down when the Jetwing comes on, and you can take this off. And then he's really just kind of bare because the pipes aren't there. You know, when we bring in the other Optimus, he's got that very distinct silhouette. You know, he's got the spikes on the shoulders, and then he's got the spikes for the pipe, and then the head. This guy has nothing, and it looks pretty bad in my opinion. Maybe I'm just nitpicking here, but I really feel like they could have made this work with the pipes. And you do get the pipes. So I'm going to try to modify it and show you guys how I do it to make the pipes work. And then I think that I can just take this and just kind of glue this on up here and it'll still work. Because in a lot of the images that I saw, this is supposed to be higher up around his neck anyway, and it sits too low. So basically it was just a bad compromise overall, and I don't like it. That makes me quite annoyed. So here's Prime's internal skeleton, and this is the chest piece that's causing us trouble. You can see here the pegs, and then you see here, those pegs are just non-existent. So we're gonna have to get rid of those so that the little pipes can actually peg into that hole right there. So the first thing I'm gonna do is try to cut these out as carefully as I can. And I have the other chest here for reference so that we can kind of come back to that. So we're going to clip, and we're going to make another clip here, and just make sure, because I don't want to cut more than I need to. So I got that off. That looks pretty ugly to start off with. So then we're going to take the Dremel and use that to kind of clear that space. And I may need an X-Acto knife as well to make sure it's really cleaned up. But you can see, theoretically, this will now allow the pipe. So I just need to do that to the other side, and we're going to test fit it. Ha ha! Success! That doesn't even look too messy. Look at that. So now we have the Dark of the Moon chest with the pipe sticking up out through. So man, that hip really is a little loose. Now, then we have the problem of the neck bracket, which wasn't actually too hard because what I did is I just dremeled out the top and the sides. Pardon the slightly messy cut, but now what we do is we set it down over top of the pipes like so. They do stick out a little bit, but I think that is a far better compromise than what Blokees chose to do. So if you get this and that is something that bothers you, it is not too hard. Just Dremel and some hobby cutters is all you really need, and you will get it perfectly good to go. And I'm very pleased with this. I nearly forgot to mention, this guy is a classic class, which means he does have the light up feature inside, pipes through decently well. In my Bright Studio, it's kind of hard to see. Mine came with a dead battery, or almost entirely dead. So I had to swap it. I did that live on stream. If you've never swapped a classic class battery, highly recommend you go watch that section of the stream, because I show it off basically in full detail. So it's not hard. You just got to get the core body out. So there you have it. That is the Blokees Classic Class Deluxe Jetwing Optimus Prime. And I have to say, after you do those modifications to the neck and collar, this is the most perfect little Bayverse Optimus Prime that you could hope for. And the retail for this, at least when I look at it on the Blokees website for US currency, is $27.99. That is a lot of stuff packed in for 27 bucks. So I'm very pleased with this. If I were asking for big things here, I would have wished to see this done up in the EX color scheme with the shiny red and blue and a few extra coppery details painted on, and then like a $10 price increase, to be honest. But I do think Blokees has struck a very nice balance, and you get a ton of value here. I do like that they included the old head, even though I will probably never be using it, and including the original chest as well. If you want a better sized head for your 2007 Prime, that's great. If you didn't get the 2007 Prime, you've got all the parts you need. Yeah, it's really good. That neck thing is really just my biggest complaint. And of course, my pipe dream was the EX. And then some joints being loose was a little like, but I can fix that. So overall, very pleased. This has taken my favorite Blokees figure and elevated it, and now this modified form is my absolute favorite, and I love using him with this gun because it just poses so well. So I'm going to wrap up before I start gushing more about how good this is. If you have the original 2007 Prime, this is still well worth buying for the reasons of, like, you get extra accessories, so you can up-arm this Prime too. And if you want to have just normal Dark of the Moon Prime, you can attach the pack to this guy because he has the same connection points. That neck piece doesn't do anything. It's just there for looks. It doesn't hold up any weight. So you can just straight up plug the pack onto the original 2007 Prime and roll with it. So that's a great plus as well. Obviously, you can swap the arm guns on as well. So yeah, there's a ton you can do. I am very pleased with it, but I highly recommend you modify it the way I showed here. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.